So Kevin Smith is now coming in to ruin Star Wars after he just got finished ruining the He-Man and Masters of the Universe show. This is being reported by multiple people now after only being reported by a couple of people who aren't too trusted in the scooping business. Now it's being reported by quite a few people. Let's check it out. But before we get into the video,
if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel.
So whenever this rumor was first reported, I was one of those people that said, yeah, right, like this isn't going to happen. I already know what's happening here. I already know what these YouTubers are trying to do. These specific YouTubers that reported this rumor, I already knew that they just knew that Kevin Smith was a hot topic at the time, and they were just trying to get a little bit of extra views out of it. And I wasn't trying to put them down. I wasn't saying that that's a bad thing. Like, do whatever you want to do with your YouTube channel. I don't care, but I'm just not going to talk about it on my channel because I didn't believe it for a second. But now that a lot of other people are starting to report it, people like Clownfish TV on their website, Pirates and Princesses, are reporting the same news, and now they are citing certain sources that aren't super reliable. But I have a theory behind that. I think that they're just trying to use those sources as a scapegoat so that they don't have to out their true sources within Disney, because if you don't know, Clownfish TV have worked for Disney in the past. I believe both of them who run that channel worked for Disney in the past, and they've been right on so many different things. They definitely have some reliable insiders when it comes to Disney, when it comes to Hollywood in general, because they got the whole He-Man thing spot on a year and a half out from the show. So spot on that Kevin Smith took offense to how right they were with their leaks. So they definitely do have some sources within Hollywood and definitely within Disney, because they both are former Disney employees. I believe it's at least one of them, if not both of them. And Clownfish TV, they've never been, at least in my opinion, you can let me know in the comments whatever you think about them, but they've never really been in the lying business. They've never really been in the clickbait business, at least in my opinion. From my experience with them, it doesn't seem like they're in that business, but that, like I said, that's just my opinion. Let's get into the news that we have today, though. This stuff, if true, could be extremely huge for the Star Wars universe and for the Star Wars fandom, really. I think that this is going to be really big for the Star Wars fandom in a very bad way. So this article is coming to you from Pirates and Princesses. Like I said, this is Clownfish TV's journalism website. They say, rumor, Kevin Smith to direct episodes for Leslie Headland's Star Wars show. Now, we already know that Leslie Headland's Star Wars show, which is The Acolyte, is probably not going to do very well. It's not going to be very well received by the fandom, and I'll show you exactly why later if you haven't seen that yet. But Leslie Headland has been saying some very stupid things when it comes to her Star Wars show, and I think that if Kevin Smith, and like I said, take this with a grain of salt, this is a rumor, if Kevin Smith were to come in to direct a Star Wars project, it would probably be that one. Because let's face it, Kevin Smith is not the most talented director in the world. And I'm not just saying that because I'm mad at him right now because of everything that he just did. I've never thought that Kevin Smith was a very talented director. I always loved Kevin Smith, the person, until now, but I never thought that he was a super talented director. And think about the type of people that they usually hire for Star Wars projects to direct the projects. It's usually a very hot director at the time, and it's not always people that love the source material. When it comes to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, that's a bit different, because Dave Filoni is he has a high-ranking position when it comes to Lucasfilm, and he had been around for a very long time when it comes to Lucasfilm. If you don't know, he played a big part in the sequel trilogy, so he had proven himself to the Lucasfilm higher-ups that he knows what he's talking about. And then Jon Favreau is just proven, not only in Hollywood, he's a very proven Hollywood director and producer, but he also proved himself within Disney with stuff like The Lion King. So they already knew that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni could do good Star Wars content. But when it comes to Kevin Smith, he's just not that technically talented when it comes to directing, and that's the type of people that they usually hire to do Star Wars projects, like J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson. Say whatever you want about the sequel trilogy, but the sequel trilogy looked very good. And J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson's technical directing, the way that they set up the shots, the way that they directed their actors, all of that stuff, in my opinion, was very good. And I think that even outside of Star Wars, they are very technically talented when it comes to directing. They can make stuff look very good. And Kevin Smith is just not that person. But let's get into this article. It says, at first, it says, attention, the following report is a rumor. Please take the following story with a grain of salt. And a recent rumor, according to YouTuber Mike Zero, and like I said, I know that as soon as you read that, you're like, okay, this rumor is not true. It's coming from Mike Zero. But that's just not the case. I don't think so. I don't think that Clownfish TV would be, they even posted a YouTube video on it. And like I said, they're not in the lying business. They're not in the clickbaiting business. I think what's happening here is that Clownfish TV probably have a source as well, but maybe it's not completely reliable. Maybe it's not, 100% reliable. Maybe they don't trust that source 100%, or maybe they're just using Mike Zero as a scapegoat so that they don't have to out their source. Because if they were to come out and say something like this, like Mike Zero did, everyone would just write it off as clickbait, as a lie. You're just trying to profit off of, the hot topic right now, which is Kevin Smith. And we all know that Mike Zero runs a Star Wars YouTube channel. So to say that Kevin Smith would be directing a Star Wars movie is just kind of trying to combine his channel's niche with the hot topic right now. That's what everyone thought whenever he first reported this. And I think that if Clownfish did have a scoop, they probably wouldn't want to release that, because then everyone would be thinking that they're trying to do the same thing and just kind of profit off of the hot topic right now, which is Kevin Smith. And if they combine that with Star Wars, which is already a huge IP, you get the picture. They're just trying to make sure that people don't think that they're just trying to profit off the hot topic right now. And they're saying, according to Mike Zero. But I don't think that Clownfish TV, I don't think that Pirates and Princesses, who, like I said earlier on in the video, have Hollywood insiders, have Disney insiders, would even entertain this rumor if they didn't think that it could be true, or if they didn't get the scoop themselves from another source. Or maybe, let's face it, Mike Zero might have sources too. Maybe they got it from the same source that Mike Zero did. Who knows? But they say, who, if we're being honest, has about a 50-50 track record when it comes to reporting, has reported that Kevin Smith, writer, and I think 50-50 is a little generous, but anyway, has reported that Kevin Smith, writer, director of films such as Jay and the Silent Bob, and television series such as Masters of the Universe Revelations, was apparently offered to direct episodes of Leslie Headland's upcoming Disney Plus Star Wars series, Star Wars The Acolyte, which I'm still not convinced is even ever going to come out, but we'll get into that later on in the video a little bit. Currently, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni seem to be taking over at Lucasfilm, while Kathleen Kennedy seems to be slowly being phased out or moved to another position. However, she apparently still has creative control over the currently untitled Indiana Jones 5 and the Leslie Headland Star Wars series slated for Disney Plus. So I think that if she were to have control, if Kathleen were to have control over anything, I think it's going to be the High Republic, and the Acolyte is considered a High Republic show. So I would believe that, yeah, Kathleen Kennedy probably does have some control over the Acolyte, which is why I'm not really looking forward to it anymore. And when it comes to Indiana Jones, obviously she's still the head of Lucasfilm. All I care about is that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni get to run their little universe, get to run the majority of Star Wars without Kathleen Kennedy interfering. And it seems like we finally got that, because she didn't executive produce Bad Batch, and she's not executive producing Book of Boba Fett, which I think is a lot bigger news than people think it is. Kathleen Kennedy is said to have not only reached out to Rian Johnson, who is the writer and director of 2017 Star Wars The Last Jedi, to direct a few episodes of Leslie Headland's series, but also Kevin Smith. I don't know, to me that just seems a bit convenient that everyone has been comparing Rian Johnson and The Last Jedi situation to the Kevin Smith and Masters of the Universe situation. For them to report that Kathleen Kennedy reached out to Rian Johnson and Kevin Smith to work on Leslie Headland's Star Wars show, which Leslie Headland's Star Wars show also has a lot of controversy around it already, I think that's a little bit spot on. I think that's a little bit convenient. But let's continue on with the article. Apparently, Kathleen Kennedy has been in talks with Kevin Smith for some time to do a Star Wars related project, beginning when Kevin Smith visited the set of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker while they were filming. Kevin Smith is known to be a fan of the Disney era of Star Wars, so it would not be surprising for Kennedy to hire someone who fits her criteria. That's all true. I think that if anyone were to hire Kevin Smith to work on a Star Wars project, it would have to be Kathleen Kennedy or Leslie Headland, who is show running the Acolyte show. And when it comes to the Acolyte show, this is what I was talking about whenever I said that it already has a lot of controversy surrounding it. I'm not going to break all of this down because there's a lot of different quotes, as you can see right here. And I've gone through it in previous videos already and on previous streams all the time. But this show, which seemed like it was going to have a very interesting concept, it seemed like the show could be very good, is kind of going to be ruined by Leslie Headland and her comments, because you can just tell that her philosophy on how Star Wars should be created is not a good one. Real quick, shout out to Data Racer, as always, staying on top of all of this stuff. He gives some bullet points right here that I'll just read out. Think Star Wars, this is Leslie Headland interview on her new show. Think Star Wars is about politics and fan opinions aren't important or aren't valid. Hired a writer who's never seen Star Wars. Female and queer representation is a top priority. I literally cry whenever I see it. And he says that this is going to be a train wreck. I agree after hearing all of those comments, and especially the part where she hired a writer who's never seen Star Wars. That's pretty crazy. And then the female and queer representation, that was always going to be in it. It's a High Republic show. We all seen what's happening with the High Republic already. It's all the gender identity stuff when it comes to the High Republic, because that's a Kathleen Kennedy baby. You know, Kathleen Kennedy is very heavily involved with that, and so is the rest of her story group minions. So are the rest of Kathleen Kennedy's disciples. They're very heavily invested in the High Republic, which I think is going to die very soon. But going back to this article real quick, I don't know. It could very well be true. It could very well be that Mike Zero was right and that Clownfish TV is just using him as a scapegoat, or maybe has the same source as Mike Zero. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments about this whole situation. I think that if it was going to be any show that Kevin Smith was going to be a part of when it comes to Star Wars, it would be The Acolyte, because simply of what I just showed you right there, Leslie Headland, the way that she's going about the Star Wars show, the way that her philosophy is when it comes to creating Star Wars is pretty stupid, and it kind of aligns with what Kevin Smith did with Masters of the Universe. But with that being said, it is a little bit spot on. It is a little bit convenient. So let me know what you guys think in the comments about this whole situation. Do you think that like Kevin Smith could actually direct some Star Wars episodes for the Acolyte. Let me know what you think. If you did enjoy this video, please leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. If you want to follow me on Twitter, the link to that will be in the description as well. Thank you for watching the video. Hope to see you in the next one.